Welcome everyone to the Pearson Business Book Club. My name is Eloise Cook and I'm the publisher for the professional business list at Pearson. Each month at the book club, we choose a Pearson business or personal development book and invite the author on to discuss it. They'll also give a webinar on a key concept from the book. If you need to leave halfway through, the video will be available to watch on demand at the book club website. So what's our book today? Our book this month is Move Up or Move On by Angela Lane and Sergey Gorbatov. And if you haven't got a copy yet, you can buy it through the Pearson bookshop. I'm just going to post some links in the chat. And at the time of recording, it's currently 99p on Amazon Kindle in the UK, so grab yourself a copy. And who are our authors today? Angela Lane and Sergey Gorbatov work and write about the complex science of human performance while making it simple. They equip leaders with practical tools for success. They have deep expertise in talent management, leveraging Fortune 500 experience gained across 4 continents. They're also founding members of the Centre for Feedback Culture at the VU University in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Right, I'm going to stop sharing. That's right. Great. Welcome, Angela and Sergey. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited.
Yes, me too. Me too. I think there's going to be a lot for people attending this to help them with their careers. So we'll start with our usual questions. We ask these of all our authors. So tell me, why did you want to write this book?
I'll start. So many reasons. One of the principal ones was we've experienced so much frustration when it came to Korea. So when Angela and I looked at our collective experience, and I won't mention how many years of experience we have.
Just don't mention how many years of experience. No need to go there.
No need to go there. We've had so many conversations around, I'm not progressing as fast enough. I feel stuck. I'm in a rut. I'm not developing. I've been passed over, and so on and so on and so forth. So we understood that something was wrong, and at some point in time, it nearly felt like a responsibility to address that frustration and to look at the expertise that we had and put it on paper, bring to life those stories and bring some practical advice that we've given over the years, and advice that we know works. Not just because we've seen it with our own eyes, but also because that is the pieces of advice and research on careers that we've been discussing with our fellow thought leaders, and something that we've consulted in the literature. And that was the second reason of why we were writing the book. If you go to Amazon and you search for the word career, you will get more than 40,000 hits. And when you start reading those books, even by the titles, you'll find a lot of books on, I don't know, that will tell you, be your authentic self. And it's great to be, true to your values, but authentic self, young children are very authentic. They scream whenever they feel like, and they pee their pants. The whole process of socialization and the whole process of child rearing is to teach them to be less authentic and more comply with the norms of behavior. Same thing goes about being authentic at work when it's something undesirable. So what if you are an authentic jerk? You're just authentically arrogant. Well, you know what? Not many people, not many bosses, not many organizations are going to tolerate that. So a lot of coaching advice may be geared towards, okay, be less authentic. Or some books will tell you, focus on your strengths and ignore your weaknesses. Well, Angela and I, we had a little conversation, we had a powwow, and said, well, Angela, how many people have you fired because they were strong at something? Like, can't recall anyone. Well, how many people have you fired because someone was bad at something?
Hundreds.
Quite hundreds. So there is so much disjointed advice, and sometimes it's half truths. Sometimes it's just plain wrong. And sometimes, organizations don't want you to know some things. And that's why you'll be getting a lot of advice that might be going against your best interest and in pursuit of interest of someone else. So we wanted to bring all of that together. We wanted to bring all this disjointed material into one place. And we created a model. So actually, we created a comprehensive model of career management, and that was one of the reasons why we really wanted, to do this, to make it everything in one place. It's clear, it's practical, practicable, and practical.
And I would add, if you think about who wins, in careers today, and we define career very specifically, it's about getting more of what you want. That could be vertical, that could be your travel, whatever it is that you want. Who wins at that game today? And the answer is, well, the research would say, that the correlations would say, if your parents were successful in professional life, you got a better chance of winning. If you went to an elite school, maybe you've got a better chance of winning. Certainly, if your parents held university degrees, you've got a better chance of winning than if you're the first person in the family to do that. Maybe if you're in your first language, not a second language, you're going to have more success. Maybe you've got a great coach or sponsor. The data supports all of those correlations that would predict who's going to be successful. None of the things I've just named are about merit. None of them are about who's doing good work. And one of the biggest myths in career is this idea that if you just work hard, if you just do good work, somehow it's going to speak for itself. And guys, we would say, and I'm not gonna talk on behalf of Sergey, but at least in my case, 30 years of managing and helping others manage their careers, what is clear is that good work doesn't speak for itself. And so we want people who have some of those advantages to take advantage of them, leverage them if you've got, any of those things I mentioned. But if you haven't, or if for some other reason you're stuck, then there are leverageable behaviors, things you can learn. It's not hard, but people just don't tell us. So things you can learn that will really give you the same sort of edge that other people get, perhaps for other reasons. When we talk about it, we talk about the democratization of careers, the idea that everyone has an equal chance to get more of what they want from work. So yeah, that was a large part of the motivation. And
Fantastic.
just one thing, because I'm sure there's people going, oh, I don't know about this democratization business. Anyone that works at a company might be saying, not sure. It is brilliant for organizations as well as for individuals, because what organizations get when people are really informed about how to be good at their career is they get people that want to perform really well. They get people that want to build great relationships at work. They get people that are really clear on the sorts of roles they'll take. It just, everyone can be better off. And the downside of not doing it, less satisfaction at work, poorer health outcomes, poorer outcomes in relationships. So many reasons why it's in everyone's interest that all of us look at work and ask how we can get more from it. So we don't sound passionate about this at all, do we, Eloise? We just we're really not at all excited by the topic.
It's fantastic. I'm very excited about this. And was there anything that surprised you about writing this book?
Oh, I'm going to go first, and it's almost embarrassing to admit. But if I said to you the thing that surprised it is that it actually works, you'd say, "Oh, hold on." But to explain that, I'd have to explain a little bit the kind of process of how we got here, and the model that Sergey referenced, this kind of comprehensive understanding of how careers work, actually emerged over time. We would learn some best practices and we'd pass those on, or we'd research a particular issue that we had found that people struggled with, and we'd learn a bit. We didn't set out to develop a framework or to kind of come up with a comprehensive approach. We We solved problems because we were coaching folk or teaching. And what happened is it started to sort of simply emerge that you could see patterns that started to appear. So we started to codify those patterns, and then we would teach to that. We could look to the model and go, okay, now we understand what's happening, and we could share it. And over time, people kept on coming back and saying, oh, that makes sense to me now. Or they'd say, oh, this was really practical, or I hadn't thought about it like that. It just started to prove to be on the ground, very, very practical, actually something that delivered results. And as I said, we didn't set out to do that with the intention of writing a book. We set out to solve problems. And the surprise was when we pulled it all together over the course of years, people reported incredible results. It's all science-based. We should have said that at the start. It's all based on deep analytical science. When you pull it together, though, and make it simple, people report that it works. And we kind of were surprised by the frequency with which people go, hey, this works. Go, yeah, okay, good.
And
Go on, Sergey.
yeah, this works. We hear it
So funny.
across geographies, across genders, across generations, across companies, and always it's funny how the conversations start. I would talk to some. We interviewed also a lot of people when we researched the book, and the conversation would always start. Sergey, you won't believe it. I mean, my situation is so unique, and I work in a company. Our culture is so you've never seen anything like this before. Like, yeah, sure. And of course, everyone's situation is unique and the circumstances, but there are more patterns and more things that can be generalized and put into a comprehensive model and answered by a question. What doesn't change? So in this volatile and ever-changing world, the VUCA, the scary word. So very volatile, very complex, very ambiguous. What will remain true no matter what? And we've set out, we've crystallized those 10 behaviors, and they do work no matter what. And for me, that was also a surprise that in this vast ocean of very unique challenges, unique personalities, unique circumstances, this pattern, these behaviors, this model works.
Fantastic. We want our readers to sort of learn and develop confidence after reading these books. So it's great that it's sort of proven to work. It's fantastic. Okay, last question. How do you want readers to feel after reading your book?
Energized, excited, empowered. And we say that in the book. So when we define career on your terms, right? So from the very beginning, the very first thing that we write, our promise to the reader. And we start with setting a high standard for ourselves. So we're all about high standards. And chapter 3, do great work. You will see that it's very important to set a high standard. We did that for ourselves from the very beginning, and that's where we also defined career on your terms, what it means. And we asked the readers to pause and think, well, read this definition. How does it make you feel? Empowered, energized, excited. Anything like things that start with E. So that's how we want the readers to feel. Angela, anything to add?
Yeah, I would hope that they also feel that this is incredibly doable. Despite the fact, as I say, it's science-based, so it's robust. It's very comprehensive. So we haven't made it as simple as one catchphrase or the other. But what we hope we've done and how we hope they feel is confident, because where it could be overwhelming, it would be natural to be overwhelming. What we've done is help people focus. We identify what are the behaviors that are critical to success that we've been able to reveal. That's a lot of stuff. How do you know which one or two of those is going to move the needle for you? Well, we've got a diagnostic tool, simple tool that you can use. You go online, you take an assessment, it takes a matter of moments, and it's going to tell you, you know what, you're really good at this, but you're going to have to dial up that. So it's incredibly practical. For each of the behaviors, the book acts as, I want to call it, a workbook. do this exercise because it will give you a structured approach to thinking about. Answer these questions because they'll provide insight into how you incredibly simple, not simplistic, but simple, powerful. Even I'll give a little example, because it doesn't take big things to change your trajectory. Small change and then things magnified. If you've got 2 jobs, how do you know which one to choose? Got option, things like that, small changes that create leverage. And there's really practical tools to how to get that little bit of leverage. It's not overwhelming. You don't have to change yourself. You don't have to reinvent. Small changes, doable. So we hope they feel really confident. It's like, I've got this.
Well,
Listen,
this is very
we've got this.
exciting.
We've got this,
Yeah,
guys.
we've got this. We can do
We've
this.
got this.
Great. Well, it's time for your session now. So it's 10 secrets to develop your career. And don't forget, you can use the Q&A function to ask questions, and we'll get some at the end. I think Angela and Sergey will be sort of asking you to pop things in the chat soon. So I'll see you in a bit.
Thank you, Liz. And absolutely, whenever you want to make a comment, drop a question, whatever, we are monitoring the chat, and we want this to be less of talking heads and Angela and I talking at you, but having a conversation and having a dialogue. So, are you career ready? This is a big question, and what we found is that there are career-ready people very early in their careers, very late in their careers, somewhere in the middle, and there are very career-unready people, very early in their careers, very late in their careers, so it doesn't matter where you are. You always need to check. Okay, at this point in my career, am I optimally working? Am I putting in practice those necessary steps that allow me to have a career on my terms? The vast majority of people, however, if Google algorithms are any indication of the current sentiment of how people feel about the career, you can see on the screen what it matters. And I don't know, maybe it's my
I was about to say, so this could be, I don't know what you've been putting in Google, but your career is over, you're going
But
nowhere.
this is what I get, and then Google laughs at me. Put this button. I feel lucky. Yeah, right. After reading what's come out, lucky is the last thing that I can feel. But okay.
We would encourage people to do this, right? So if you're sitting there and you've got another window open, put "My Career Is" into your browser, see what you get. And if you're feeling confident and want to have a bit of fun, throw that into the chat and share it with others. What's the top one that you get?
So if this is an indication of the current employee sentiment, worker sentiment, career seeker, then definitely there is frustration. Definitely there is discontent, and people are looking. And Google is very often the first place where they turn to. Was the second place Amazon or similar. And we've already talked that there is a lot of advice that is sometimes incomplete. So sometimes it's outside wrong, but sometimes it's incomplete. So for instance, for a spell there, the book Range was very important, and the book was teaching, well, you need to be a generalist. So generalists rule the world. So specialist career, more fragile, it's easier, and so on and so forth. Oh, Liana, no, your career is not over. What a thing to put in chat. Range. Well, it might be true, but what about you? What is it that you're looking from your career? How do you define your success? If you don't answer that question, then how can you answer the question, well, is it better to be a generalist or specialist? Because if you follow that advice, okay, become a generalist. You become a generalist, you stay in generalist roles for your career. Now imagine you're 50 years old, you look back and say, that's not the career I wanted. That's not who I am. That's not what gave me fulfillment. Yes, I worked those jobs, but I wasn't satisfied. Why? Because you followed someone else's advice. And what we teach from the very beginning of the book is that you need to define what career success means for you, your personal definition of career success. And if that career success coincides with David Epson's advice on becoming a journalist, that's fantastic. Then that book is, okay, this is how you build your generalist muscle. But the first question that needs to be answered is this for you? Is this what delivers you a career on your terms, a career that fulfills, a career that that empowers? So we've gone to Google, we've gone to Amazon. Yes, and but very often you feel even more lost than ever. You might be feeling like this poor Tarzan because the world is changing so fast that your maps aren't updated, and without updated maps and without any sort of guidance, well, what do you do? There was this interview with Jeff Bezos, and Jeff Bezos was asked, well, Jeff, how do you think about business? How do you think about business strategy? And he said, well, it's a very fast changing world. So very often I ask myself questions. In what universe is it possible to think that our customers would want the goods to be to cost a little bit more? Impossible. In what universe would our customers be willing to wait for them so that the products arrive a bit slower? No, it's impossible. So we know that for sure. It was true in the past, it will true now, and with very high degree of certainty, we know that will be in the future. So we applied the same logic to career management, and we asked a question with Angela when we set off to this on this journey. Right? What is it absolutely true that we know for sure that is true now and will remain true? Because that's you can make big bets on that. You can bet your career on that. That if you invest in those behaviors, if you invest in those practices, then you're going to be better off no matter what. And by having answered that question, we have developed the model. But before we go into the model, look at the list in front of you. Look at the list in front of you. Read through the items, and drop us a note in chat. Is there a particular item that resonates most of you? Or if you don't want to share one particular, share how many. Yeah,
How many of these apply?
How many of this apply? And remember, this is not a competition to get the most points.
It's a competition to have the least.
Just be
It's like
honest.
golf. You need a lowest score, right? I think that's how golf works.
Ideally, yeah. That's the goal of career management. A fulfilling. If you have a fulfilling career, then none of this should be applying to you. But even so, things change, bosses change, companies change. One of the principles that we that we apply in our work and in our book, we also ended with this sentiment: life happens. So sometimes life happens, and there is a shift in the career. So I don't see any answers in the chat, and probably you are deep in thought, or
or they're still counting. I hope it's not because you're still counting, because the numbers are large. Just a question though, Sergey, that came in through the Q&A. So thank you for that. Please feel free to make this conversational. We're so happy to do that. Somebody, anonymous attendee, has said it doesn't look like the book is available in Canada yet. It certainly is available Amazon US. I'm sure they may be able to get it to you. Certainly available from the UK to be shipped. But is it possible to share the link to the online diagnostic tool? Absolutely. We can make sure we put that in the chat, and at some stage you can connect your results to the various chapters. They align, so we make it super easy. You can take a look at the book when you have that, and it will give you some of the really helpful suggestions to understand where you're low and what you can do about it. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Sergey. I just wanted to not leave that really good.
No, that's fine. And you see that
oh my gosh,
there are some answers coming through.
My heart's breaking. My heart is breaking, team. Look at that. Not enough excitement at work. Well, we hope that we'll make this afternoon a little bit more exciting.
Yeah,
Through
let's see. And thank you, Eloise, for sharing the link to the diagnostic.
Excellent. And we talked at the get-go about how there's a lot of very strong, rigorous science behind what we hope we present in a very sort of, approachable way. But one of the things that adds to the science is when people continue to take the surveys, we continue to get more data and we understand more, what's happening in the real world as it relates to careers. So thank you for that.
Thank you. So if it's 3 or more, then your career, we refer to this career model as the career edge model. If it's 3 or more, it might be out of whack. It might be disbalanced. So you might it might need readjustment a little bit. And I'm looking at Jada, 17 or 18. That's that's not good. That's not good. But we have an answer for you. We have a solution. Angela, will you tell us
Absolutely.
what the
And
solution is?
at the very end, if I remember, Sergey, I think there is our LinkedIn emails and things like that. If you're getting scores like 17 or 18, you reach out to us because we would be excited to help point you in the right direction.
Okay, so Angela, the model.
The model, thank you. You keep driving. Let me talk about the model because you gave me a phenomenal introduction. You talked about Jeff Bezos, obviously an incredibly smart guy. And what's his advice around strategy? We're talking career strategy, he's talking business strategy. But what was his advice? Stick to the things you know to be true. As we unpacked the research, we found two things that are undisputably true about careers. The first truth that we uncovered is that careers are at the intersection, so to speak, of what is internal to me. Career success, more of what I want, is at this intersection of what is uniquely me, what I'm interested in, what I get excited by, the things that I can do, the experiences that I've had, the sacrifices I'm prepared to make. Very, very personal to me. But many of those decisions, many of my opportunities are actually determined elsewhere. They're determined external to me. So the first truth is that there is a tension, an ongoing kind of pull between me and what I control, what I manage, and the world around us. Second undeniable truth, and it seems so obvious when you say it, is that careers are actually not a point in time. They occur over time. And that actually turns out to be an incredibly powerful insight to the nature of careers, because these two truths, the connection between me and the outside world, the connection between today and tomorrow, actually dictates what are the things that you need to do to be really, really good at managing your career. So when you put those things together, when you lay them out, there are 4 cornerstones, we call them cornerstones, that are the foundation, so to speak, of any successful career. We interviewed so many incredibly successful people, and they use different language, they have different ways of explaining their narrative, but it comes down to these 4 kind of cornerstones. At the intersection of what is important and essentially me, and this idea of tomorrow, more of what I want, more of what fulfills me, etc. There is this idea of what is your vision for your career? Do you have a sense of what is your purpose? And I don't mean your kind of capital P purpose, I want to do good in the world. If your purpose is to have a job with lots of balance, maybe your purpose is to a job that lets you travel. Maybe it is, maybe you do want to do good in the world. Maybe you just want a big paycheck. Maybe you want combinations of those things. Your purpose is whatever it is that you want more of. If you had that purpose and it was crystal clear, and if you had a plan of how you would get more of that, we'd call you a career visionary. And it's a really important foundation because it's what provides our North Star. The idea, though, that you have a vision, not enough. There is an intersection between us, who we are, our experience, our skills, our capabilities, our personality, and how we perform and deliver today. We call that value creator. What is my ability with all the things that are unique to me? What is my ability to do work now that sets me up for what might come next? Can I deliver value? Can I be a decent person to work with? Am I building the skills that I need to stay relevant? Value creator. The third pillar is all about my reputation. We move from this internal consideration, what I want and what I do, to this externally focused consideration. What do people know about me? How am I understood? Do we have a reputation? Do we have a brand? The last pillar, and often overlooked, it's very much anchored in this idea of what is external to us and what we get in the future: opportunities, the ability to do different things, to take advantage of different possibilities. That's a function of what is around us, the outside world, what opportunities there are, which of those I could take, how many of them might there be. And we can help people think about opportunities in ways that are different. This model, it's simple, it's easy, it's based in these strong truths, but it lends itself to what are 10 critical behaviors. I'm going to reveal those, Sergey, but before I do, any comments from you on the model, on anything you'd like folks to talk about in the chat or Q&A before I dive in a little further? We don't have much time, so I'm going to dive in a little further on what are the behaviors. Let's uncover those in a minute. Any comments from you, Sergey, before I go on?
No comments. I think that we'll get to them as we unveil those behaviors, because as we go one by one, each person can be thinking, okay, if I were to rate myself on a scale from 1 to 5,
Ooh,
how would I rate there? So I think that it would be better to gauge those comments
okay.
in the presentation.
All
And
right. So
we'll do
the
the
pressure.
diagnostic because the diagnostic is more of an objective way, and it's also normed. So it's been calibrated again across different populations. So you're getting an average, not an average, you're getting a relative score on how you compare to others. But now, after we've described those behaviors to you, just you can rate yourself, and then you can compare your self-awareness or where you think you are, and then with the results of the diagnostic.
Fantastic. So this is the question. It's popped into the Q&A. I think it's not maybe for us, maybe Eloise, it's for you. As the publisher of the book is Pearson, is it available to Pearson employees to purchase through some internal tool or site? Well, I hope so, but I'll get Eloise to pop back at the end and let us know how Pearson employees can get hold of this.
Let's jump into the behaviors.
Absolutely. Let me talk about the behavior. So let's start in the top right-hand quadrant, this cornerstone. And I alluded to this. The first behavior we uncovered of people who are really, really good at managing their career is they know what they want. We call it aligned to purpose. That sounds very, very, very lofty. We like to approach aligned to purpose from the position of no judgment. You choose your purpose, you choose your goals, you choose your aspiration, and it doesn't have to it doesn't have to meet. In fact, it shouldn't meet the goals of others. Really important that it meets your own. Many people we've worked with over the years spend a lot of time living up to somebody else's expectations, and we work really hard to help people uncover their own purpose, what brings them joy. Sergey posed this idea that we can ask ourselves the rhetorical question: how good am I? It might look a question something like, how clear am I at knowing my vision for myself for the future? Do I know, like, for example, the trade-offs I'd be prepared to make? Do I know what makes me happy? Do I know what I find fun? Do I know what environments bring out my best? If you answered yes to those sorts of questions, then you're going to give yourself a higher score. If you said, well, I kind of, I'm an accountant, my dad was an accountant, my cousin is an accountant, I'm going to give you not a good score on whether or not you've done that reflection. You know what? I do a very quick diagnostic with people if I teach this stuff, and I say, how long, how much time do you give yourself to plan for a vacation? You're doing something great. You're going to take a week in the Caribbean. Maybe you're, I don't know, maybe you're traveling to the US or something. How much time do you spend thinking about what you're going to do, where you're going to eat, what you're going to see, and compare that with how much time you've spent thinking about it for your career. And it's really scary that people spend more time planning, a week in New York or a long weekend in New York than they do what's happening with the rest of their life. I'm going to move on because we don't have a lot of time, but aligning to purpose, it is the fantastic starting point. It is incredibly important, but it is wishful thinking instead of wish fulfillment if we don't have a plan. So we talk about plan your pathways, and by that, we want you to think Google Maps. You don't have to know the exact address. It's great if you do. Don't have to know the exact address. Maybe you know an intersection. Maybe you know the town you want to get to. But you need enough of a direction to figure out what are, the other thing Google Maps does so well, what are alternative routes? Because there are going to be times in your career and times in your life where you are ready, willing, and able to fast track your career. You're going to take the freeway. Freeways often come with tolls. At least here, I'm here in Chicago today. At least here in Chicago, the freeways come with tolls. There are times in your life and career where you're going to say, you know what, this is not the right time for me to step on the accelerator of career. You might think of that as a scenic route. Nothing wrong with a scenic route. You might think of highways, all sorts of things. Having a perspective about what are the different pathways suddenly empower you differently to think about what's possible. In social sciences, we call it equifinality, the idea that there is more than one way to get to the destination that we want. There is more than one right way. And when you see that you might have 2, 3, 4 ways of getting more of what you want, all of a sudden you start to feel truly empowered to take control of this because you have choice. Sergey, I better move right along, but people should be scoring themselves mentally. You can put it into the chat if you'd like to, scoring themselves mentally on whether or not they have, a great plan to get them closer to more of what they want. There is no way out of it, though. Moving on, there's no alternative to doing great work. That could sound daunting. It could sound exhausting. Oh my gosh, I've got to do great work every day. We say you've got to do it every day. Here's the secret that people don't tell you. Great work depends on 2 things. Think of 2 kind of things that are happening. One is that somebody else is assessing it. Someone else is determining what great looks like. And often what we think of as great, second half, is not something they value. So if you could figure out what those who they were, firstly, and secondly, what they value, it becomes so much easier to do great work. You can be slogging away at stuff and no one really, that's why great work doesn't speak for itself, Sergey. No one cares. Who are your stakeholders? What do they value? They are the arbiter of whether or not you're doing great work. When you figure out who they are and what they want, and it's normally not on a job description. I've seen, I don't know, how many job descriptions have you seen, Sergey? Like
thousands
20,000 in your life?
But I've never seen a definition of great work in there.
Yeah, exactly. Let me give an example just to help people kind of with the concept. I worked for a guy, a long time ago, and he hated conflict, just like could not manage conflict. I found out that I could help him so much by dealing with some of those difficult conversations he struggled to have. Nowhere in my job description did it say deal with difficult conversations your boss is avoiding. But you know what? He valued the fact that I could do that. Never ask your boss, what is the work? Ask them what problem they have. And then you'll start to do great work. So lots of tools in the book, by the way, to help uncover who these people are that matter and how you can deliver value for them. But all that is not enough unless you're also a good person to work with. Don't underestimate the power and importance of being affable, likable, approachable, being rewarding to work with in a complex world where few people get to do work that is truly independent. We are so interdependent with one another. Being rewarding to work with, super important. Next one, I've got to move on. Develop intentionally. Again, score yourself, by the way. Am I doing good work? Am I rewarding to work with? Do I develop intentionally? A lot of us start strong and then we find we plateau. And one of the reasons we may not be keeping in a changing world, we may not be keeping up with changes. They could be technical changes. They could also be changes in the company culture, the changes in bosses, the changes in peers. So developing intentionally, really, really important. Two bits of really quick advice, because we're all about practical. If you are in a job today, you haven't been in it long, focus your development on getting great at what you do. If you've been in a job for a bit, or you're thinking about making that next move, focus your development on what you need to be great next. Score yourself on developing intentionally. That's our internal side of the equation. It's what is about us, the experience we have, the relationship that we have with our work, our stakeholders, etc. But we now shift to what's more external. As a result of all of that, what do people know about us? Two behaviors here. The first is I've got to connect with others. Super important that people know me. People cannot help me, cannot advocate me, cannot support me if I just am not known. But here's the rub, guys, and the research shows this is so true. And I have to tell you, our data shows that this is the thing people say, oops, I can't do this. This feels unnatural. I don't like it. So pay attention to this one. It is one thing to have a connection, but do the people you connect with truly know you? Things like, what is your purpose and how do you want to get there? And do they know your work? What is your reputation? Give yourself a score on that one, pop it into the chat, because I am going to bet if I ask the question in this way, how comfortable are you at telling others how good you are at what you do? If you don't answer that in a strong way, then you've got the opportunity to do more here, and there are lots of tools and support in the book that can help you. Thank you for those folks that are thinking about scoring, and thank you, Kerry, for popping into the chat. Connections through ERGs, they are wonderful, great way to get known, but don't forget to add that little twist. Make sure that they know your work and how good that is relative to the things that you want to do more of. Last one, Sergey, we're going
May
to
I add
move.
there? Because
Yes,
it's
thank
one
you,
thing
Kerry.
to be known. It's everything to be known for the right thing.
Oh, the right things. That's a great point.
Because you don't want to
Yes.
be known for the wrong thing.
Yes, yes, I know, Sergey, he's really difficult to work with. Do not be known for being difficult to work with. External environment, last few behaviors. This first one is just a reality. When you think about that external environment, success, getting more of your imagined tomorrow, is a part of, in part, a function of how many options would I be prepared to take? How many things am I open to do? We coach people all the time. I just, occupational hazard. You sit with someone and what do they say? Well, I want a job, but it needs to be, with a bigger title. I need to get more money. I don't want to leave the company because I've got a great pension plan. I don't want to change functions, and I really like my team. How can I grow my career? And that challenges us, Sergey, to like, hey, that's not a lot of options you're giving us to work with. We would encourage you to multiply your options by being purposeful about saying, you know what would I be prepared to do to get more of what I want? Would I change companies? Would I relocate? Would I take a side gig? When you look at chapter 8 in the book, all the chapters aligned to the behaviors. Look at chapter 8. There's a list of different things you can do that multiply your opportunities. If you get great opportunities, though, how will you choose between them? How will you know? Because not all opportunities, if you want more of your tomorrow, not all opportunities are created equal. So one of the behaviors you can learn is how to assess jobs, how to evaluate jobs for their context. Jobs comprise two things: content, the work I have to do, but context. Is this a project with lots of exposure to senior leaders? Is this a project where I'll be working with great, super smart people? Is the boss on this project somebody who's known to accelerate the career of his team? That's all context, and we can help you unpack it and analyze it. We would hate, last one, Sergey, there would be nothing worse than to prepare people to move towards their tomorrow, only to have them take something new and fall over. The last winning behavior is preparing yourself to land brilliantly and acing that transition. Transitions are risky. Acing that transition is critical. And we've got lots of ways to help people think about not just acing it in the short term. You have lots of books out there. Sergey talked about career books. First 90 days. First 90 days, super important. But I tell you what, that's the first 90 days. It's like the first game in a tennis match. You've got to get through the first set. You've got to get through 3 sets. I'm thinking of tennis. It's of course that time of year coming up to Wimbledon. You're there for the long term, and we help you prepare for the long term. Sergey, I'm going to hand it back to you for a second in case I missed anything. I usually do.
No, everything is well explained, Angela, and I hope that now everyone can share, what's their highest score is and what's their greatest opportunity. So as you were thinking about these 10 behaviors, and we ask you to rate yourself from 1 to 5, so 1 is low, 5 is high. Please do share in chat, which of the career behaviors is your highest. You're doing well there. You're well positioned, and which one of those is an opportunity, right? And if you don't want to share that in chat, that's also fine. But write it down. Write it down on the paper or electronic media somewhere, and then after you have done the diagnostic, and here's the QR for you to have the diagnostic. Compare your result with the one that you will be getting from that questionnaire, because that will also demonstrate the self-awareness that you have on your own career management. And ideally, your results will coincide. We want to hope for that. But if they don't, no. If they don't, ask yourself the question, what is it that you're overlooking? Or is there anywhere, other places where you might have, you might be a bit overconfident? Yeah, you don't see a problem there, but it is there. And maybe you don't want to see it. We also there is a lot of evidence that sometimes we don't want to deal to deal with problems. So go and do this diagnostic. When you do the QR code, it will get you to the landing page of our book. In the diagnostic is in the middle. At the end, at the bottom, there are also a couple of different resources to accompany the book. So as Angela told you, book has a lot of exercises. It's really a workbook. Yeah. So there is a model and there are many exercises in the chapters, and we've put some more explanations or a couple of templates in on the book page so that you can reference those.
And I was going to add, Sergey, once people are there, there's also a lot of blogs, articles, things like that. So if you're interested in gee, how do I balance today versus tomorrow? You'll find there's like we've written about that. You could look at a short 4-minute read, 3-minute read on playing the long game. So lots of other resources there. So do explore the site when you're there. Here's the thing that I like best of all about this model. We refer to it as evergreen. So you could do the diagnostic, you could figure out that, you know what, I need to focus on building my brand, something people feel uncomfortable about often. Or, you know, maybe I need to better work with stakeholders, all sorts of things. And you could be working on that. Then maybe you get that promotion. The model is evergreen. You can take it again and figure out, now where do I go next? We encourage people to use it at any career milestone. If you get a different job, if your boss changes, gee, how am I doing? Use it to calibrate. You can sort of dive in, you know, at the right point. Use it as a diagnostic if things are not going so well. And we also encourage at least once a year. It's like going to your doctor. You go and get your medical. You have a little check in on things. At least once a year.
Do a career health check.
Okay. Yeah, little health check. Exactly. Sergey, I'm going to let you close it out because I'm going to peep into the chat and see. Oh, Eloise is saying, yeah, and you're sending hearts. I love it.
So,
and Kerry, thank you so much for your comment in the chat. Super appreciate it.
Thank you. And we have 10 minutes for questions and answers. So we're here, and also you can reach out to us if you need to, and there is a QR to the book as well. So Eloise, back to you.
Yes, thank you so much. That was really great. That was such a whistle-stop tour. I'm sure people are busily doing the diagnostics, so hopefully that will sort of encourage them to want to find more about the book. If you've got any questions, please pop them in the chat or on the Q&A. Something that I was sort of wanting to ask was, I think this book will be really useful for people who might not realise they're stuck. Do you have any tips or suggestions for people who might not know they're in that sort of state?
I think, you know, for people that start to read, we provide prompts, and you saw an example of some of them earlier. If you feel this, then it probably indicates that. You know, if you feel frustration that you can't get your projects, you know, it probably means that you've got an opportunity to kind of to calibrate. Our experience is that, you know, many people kind of have a sense that it's not quite right. The challenge is, I don't know what to do about the fact that it's not quite right. And so we hope the methodology lets people find simple changes, adjustments, tweaks that they can make that really get positive results quickly. You know, what frustrates us is when we have to go on big personal campaigns of change, and, you know, I have to lose 20 pounds and I have to, you know, learn French, and I have to, you know, like, we do it to ourselves. You know, any list of New Year's resolutions, and you look at it by February, you're exhausted. We advocate really small, doable stuff.
Yeah. And this feeling of being stuck or being frustrated is really the gap between what I want and what I have. If we look at research, we know that who are the happiest professions? Well, woodcutters and zookeepers. And you might be thinking, well, you know what? Somebody's been woodcutter their entire life. They don't feel stuck. Why? Because they love what they do. So
Yes.
when your idea, when your personal definition of career success and what you're looking for career coincides with what you do, you know, you can be 30 years in the same job and you won't have that feeling of being stuck. So start with you and discover what drives you, where are you going, what's your career vision, and where you are, and are you well equipped for the journey? And the more yeses you get.
We have a question in the chat, and I want to direct it to you, because what people may not know, they won't know, is that one of your areas of deep expertise, in fact, your area of academic expertise, is brand building. And the question is, what tips do you have for brand building, both within your organization, but also outside? So he would never say this. I can say this on his behalf. He is really one of Europe's leading experts in personal branding for career development.
Well, thank you, Angela. You're very, very kind. But
Dr. Gorbatov, I should say. Dr. Gorbatov is one of the leading experts in Europe.
brand building, it's chapter 7. So the first question is we're asking, okay, why do you need the brand? What kind of brand do you need? It all comes to chapter 1, and we start there. So align to purpose. And let's say that you've done that work, and then also you're creating value. Because if you're not creating value, building a brand is won't be sustainable. Let's say that you don't have some competence and you're not really interested in growing it, but you want to position yourself as an expert in that area. When you may build a brand and you may be very successful in it, and today you can do it yourself, you can hire someone, but then for how long will you be able to maintain that? That's the question. But let's imagine that you know where you're going, you are delivering value, and now you want to showcase on how to do that. Well, you are creating stories about yourself, so you need to be positioning and publishing and advertising your successes among your target audiences. And you also need to build those stories, right? So we call them the wow stories. So if you think about you creating value, what are the wow stories that you want others to know about you? Look at your resume, and for each job that you've had, can you tell a wow story for each of those lines? So you were a marketing intern. What was the wow story about you? Did you delight a customer? Did you exceed someone's expectation? Did you do something totally out of the ordinary and you got fired because of that, because people didn't understand how wonderful you are? Anything that can happen. So think about, okay, for each of those lines, do I have a wow story? And it can be a hero story. It can be a funny story. It can be a success story. It can be a failure story. Don't hide your failures. Make your mess your message. As I like, so you've messed up. Fine. You can always craft a story in such a way that it demonstrates your initiative. It demonstrates your willingness to learn. So show what you have learned about
humility.
that. Yeah, everyone makes mistakes, and also
humility, vulnerability. You are signaling.
Exactly.
Really cool behaviors.
Yeah, and so and then you will have those stories, and then you will need to think about the media. And for that, you need to define, okay, who's my target audience? Because if your target audience is on Facebook, let's say that you are targeting to, not Generation Z. Let's say that you're targeting. Okay, find them there and think, okay, what works best? If it's TikTok, it's a different story. If it's LinkedIn, it's a different story. If it's YouTube, it's a different story. So understand where your target audience is, where do they prefer to get that information, and deconstruct those stories and package them into bit size, and then make sure that you're communicating consistently. Branding and in marketing is all about consistency. So know that you're on brand, build it, break it down into small pieces, and start positioning them strategically so that they arrive to the hearts and minds of your target audience.
Wow, thank you, Sergey. I can tell you can talk about this for hours. We've unfortunately run out of time, but thank you so much. I'm just popping your Instagram handle and the diagnostic tool website again on the page. But thank you so much. That's been really useful, and I hope people will try the tool. So yeah, thank you everyone for attending, and anyone watching this on demand. Our next session is on Tuesday, the 23rd of July at 2 p.m. UK time, when our business book of the month will be The Mindfulness Habit by Lisa Wren. And her webinar will be on dispelling the myths about mindfulness and what you think is wrong. So yes, I'll practice that tongue twister for next time. But thank you everyone for coming, and hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.